You don't build an all-star team sitting behind a desk. Why ride-alongs are the secret to success. Welcome back. Another episode of the Tradepreneur Show. I'm Patrick Summers, your host. Tanya Priest, my co-host, and HVAC Comfort Advisor extraordinaire.
Thank you.
So, listen, today I want to talk to everyone. That's business owners, technicians, salespeople. Doesn't matter if you're a manager, you own the business, or you're the one in the field. The importance of ride-alongs and why they need to happen. And this topic is really important in today's age. The last episode we talked about AI and technology. And one of the things that's being deployed right now, Tanya, a lot, is these automated systems that use AI where they record the call, right?
Yeah.
So, and then use AI to pull out the best parts of the call, the worst parts of the call, so on and so forth. It's actually really cool technology.
Yeah.
And there's a couple different companies out there. We happen to use one here. It's a great tool. It's a really good tool. And I guess what I would take point with is it doesn't replace ride-alongs. Way different. And I've heard some of the marketing and some of the angles kind of implying and pushing that it takes the place of a ride-along or you can eliminate your ride-alongs. And I totally disagree with that. I'm going to tell you why. First, I'm going to tell you one of the reasons these programs, technology are so popular, I believe, is because most people don't do ride-alongs. They don't know how to do ride-alongs. And ride-alongs typically don't take place to the level that they should. Lo and behold, let's have AI do it. So here's a perfect example where a human being is failing to do the proper thing, which is a ride-along with their team, and AI is coming in and taking the place. But as of right now, AI can't do what a human being can do on a ride-along. So let me be clear. I endorse, support, and use the technology that is out there. Several different companies out there. I won't share who we use, but that basically it's on the technician's iPad or phone, and they get the customer's permission to record the call, and then this technology records the entire interaction and then grades the call, shows area that the tech needs to improve on. It really helps identify who's communicating properly and who's struggling, where there's issues, so on and so forth. Now, the advantage of this technology is it can do your entire company, your entire technicians, salespeople, while they're all out on calls. And you couldn't possibly do ride-alongs with everybody. Even within a month's time, depending on the size of your company, you probably couldn't do ride-alongs with everybody. And if you could, you're not there all the time to every call. This technology is. So this technology, I believe, should be utilized with ride-alongs and should not replace ride-alongs. If you are not doing ride-alongs, this episode is going to be for you because we're going to show you or talk to you about how to do a proper ride-along. If you are doing ride-alongs, hopefully this will help you get to the next level and have a greater impact with your technicians and your salespeople. One of the first rules of ride-alongs is essentially you cannot affect change behind a desk. I mean, if you've got something going on in the field, good, bad, ugly, whatever, things you don't know about, you're not going to be able to affect that change from the office behind a desk. You need to get out there and be able to coach in the moment. I'm a big fan of coaching in the moment. Not everybody likes a coach in the moment. They like to pull somebody aside in a separate time and you would do all this. In my humble opinion, you lose a lot of the impact and the real ability to coach and impact somebody for the positive, right?
Right. But so let me ask you, so we're just real quick, we were talking AI, we're talking about the recap. It's just a summary that we're getting of how the technician is. And basically what you're trying to say is like coaching in the moment, meaning as you see what the technician is doing, you're going to say, oh, you're doing this well, or you're not doing this well, or...
Correct. So what we're getting with the AI is, yes, a summary. It's just, and that you can ask it questions and they can pull out different stuff. And it's also more than a summary in the sense that it's going to tell you if the customer had a need and it was missed, right? Because it's picking up what the customer's saying, right? And if the technician, did it clearly communicate something? Did they follow the proper steps that they're supposed to be followed? So that's all of the stuff it can do. It's really powerful. It's really amazing. Coaching in the moment is being present and observing. Now, I'm going to get into the 3 different types of ride-alongs. So I'll come back to answer that question deeper, because that's a really good question. But you can't just sit behind a desk and affect change. So if you're in a role, depending on the size of your company, what role you're in, you need to be out riding along with everybody in your company that's in the field. I would even say ride along with your parts delivery, your warehouse people. See how they're doing things. See if they're being efficient. Find out what's going on in their world. When you get out there, you're going to have a huge impact. And some people say, well, I'm a CEO. I've got 60 employees. I don't really have time to do that. I would push back on that. Is it a matter of time, or is it a matter of want and will? There was a trucking company, as I shared, I used to drive a truck, and there was a trucking company, huge trucking company, probably one of the top 50. And the CEO used to go out and ride with his drivers. Once a year, he would go out and ride with the drivers, stay out for an extended period of time to see what's going on, to experience what it's like, how dispatch is, right? Because you're just not evaluating your technician. You're seeing what's happening on their end, why they're running into overtime, why they're frustrated, those type of things. It might not be all that. You're going to be in their world, which brings me to the other important part of riding along. The one is you're not going to affect change behind a desk. 2, a ride along is not show up at the call in your own vehicle. A ride along is you get in the truck with that technician or salesperson and you ride with them. I know.
Why do you do that, though?
Well, a couple things.
Instead of showing up together.
Well, very good question, Tanya. Thank you for asking. Well, one, I'm going to go out to their truck and I'm going to open the door. And if that truck is a pigsty, I'm calling dispatch and I'm going to tell them, you need to find somebody else to run this call. We're cleaning this truck, right? So, because I don't announce who they're going to ride along with.
Right.
So, they always need to be prepared. Not that they're going to get a ride along, but that's just how you operate. I'm going to see their environment. I'm going to be in their world. So when I get in their truck, I'm in their world. I'm in their office. And now I've got time to talk with them. I want to hear what's going on in their world. I want to hear the complaints. I want to hear the good stuff. I want to hear what frustrates. I want to hear where they need help, right? And so it gives you an opportunity to have this conversation while you're driving. It also gives you time to coach in between calls, right? So if you see something on a call, let's say they're supposed to arrive at the call a certain way, and they're supposed to approach the home a certain way, and they're supposed to wear their floor savers, and they're supposed to ask certain thermostat questions. Let's say you, in that process, the first call, you see a few of those things not hit. Well, I'm not going to pull the guy aside in that moment, right? But man, we get done that call, we're driving to our next call. I'm going to say, hey, listen, on this next call, here are some of the things I saw that need to be done that weren't done. And so on this next call, let's make sure we hit these points. And then I could say, do you understand why we're supposed to do this? Do you understand the benefit to you, the homeowner, and the company? And then you have that whole time to talk, right? So that's why. Also, I want to know what they do between calls, right? So are they getting in the truck and before they move, doing the right stuff? We use iPads. On their iPad, if they're using paper, are they putting the right stuff down and getting that completed call by call? Or are they one of these guys that does it at the end of the day? Because that's a coaching moment right there.
Right.
Are you closing out the call correctly? Are you debriefing correctly? Are you driving to the 7-Eleven and then debriefing?
So on some of the ride-alongs that you've done, like, do you find a lot of mistakes? Do you find that maybe people have not been trained properly?
So, a couple things. The biggest thing I find is complacency.
Okay.
Right? So now that, sometimes, yes, the technician hasn't had the proper training.
Okay.
Right? Meaning in our process, in our procedure. And there's several reasons that can happen. They've gotten away from it. They've fallen away from it. They don't see the value in it. It doesn't help them. It's a waste of time. It's their belief system, right? It's their BS. But the majority, and that comes from complacency. It's complacent. It's another call. They're going through the motions. They're not looking at it as opportunity. They're not looking at it as the opportunity to wow a customer, to create a relationship, to solve problems. It's another maintenance. It's another service call, right? It's kind of like the doctor that's just in the ER. It's just another patient. They lose that bedside manner. They get complacent. They're just going through the motions. But there are times that it's a training issue. And you can usually identify whether it's a training issue, right? Or what we call, is it will or skill, right? If it's skill, you identify that. Okay, they don't have the skill. They haven't been trained, or this is over their head. They're not ready for this, okay? So you can fix that. Or is it will? If it's will, that's a big issue. That means they know how to do it. They're choosing not to do it.
Yeah.
Now find out why. There's cause and effect. What's causing them to not want to do it? So being in the truck with them is really, really important, because you're in their world. You're in their office. You're spending the full day with them. That's number one. Number two, I know there's people listening that are probably saying, well, of course they're not going to go to the 7-Eleven. Of course they're not going to go do that. Of course, because you're in the truck with them, they're going to be on their best behavior. Listen, if somebody does all the things they're supposed to do on a call, right? If they follow the process as they're trained, that first call, they're going to do it, and it's going to seem natural. And you're going to be able to tell, man, they do this every call. If they are now doing it because they're having you ride along with them, and they feel like they're under the microscope, so they're going to do what they're supposed to do, it's going to be clumsy.
Yeah, it's not going to look
messy. Oh, no. Yeah. And you're going to know, and you're going to be able to identify that, and you're going to know that this is not their normal process. You could quickly, easily, clearly tell whether this is something they do all the time or they're doing to put on a show. Mm-hmm. Now, if they do it to put on a show because you're riding along with them, here's the thing. And if they pull it off, if they do a fairly decent job, the first call, they're gonna mark all the boxes. They're gonna check all the boxes. The second call, probably do it to the same thing. By the third call, they become their natural self.
Yeah, because they're comfortable with you being there.
They're comfortable. Yeah. They don't have the staying power. Right. And so now they're just gonna revert back to, this is how I do. This is it. This is me doing my thing. Right. So when I ride along, it's like, okay, let's talk about your notes. Let's talk about the debrief. How are you going to debrief this call? What are you going to put in your notes? What are you going to write up? This is also a time I teach them how to use AI in the debrief, right? In helping summarize the notes. Now, let me throw this in here real quick. We have a lot of members of our team that speak English, can read and write English, but are more comfortable with Spanish. With AI, you can use AI. ChatGPT we'll use. You can speak Spanish to it. You can speak Russian to it. You can speak Chinese to it. You can speak German. Whatever language is your most comfortable language, you can speak to it, dictate to it, and it will translate it to English. And so you don't have to try and debrief in your second language. You can debrief in your first language and use AI to translate it properly. So, really nice. But a lot of people don't know that. But that's an example of something you can teach and coach in the moment. So one, again, you can't affect change behind the desk. You need to ride along. You need to get in the vehicle and ride with them. 3, you've got to ride. You've got to do at least 3 calls. You've got to do at least 3 calls. Now, there are 3 types of ride-alongs, at least as I see it. And if you have other ideas or other ways you do ride-alongs, love you to email us on social media, drop some comments on the YouTube channel. Love to hear what other people are doing, as I'm sure our listeners and viewers would as well. But these are the 3 type that I do. And I usually do them all on one ride-along day. Okay? I may not, but I usually do. The first one is, you ride along, you don't say a word. The only time you speak up, you say a word, meaning you don't give feedback, you don't coach, nothing. They run the call, you observe. You're almost like a trainee. The only time you would speak up is if they're going to do something that's going to be a detriment to themselves,
Right.
the customer, or the company, right? But you let them run their call, and you take notes, mental notes, and then jot it down. Don't be there like you're grading them, but you just observe and you watch. All right. The second type of ride along is you run the call together. So you let whoever you're riding with take the lead on the call, and they're running that call. But you can interject. You can coach in the moment. You could say, hey, I think we should do this. Hey, let me show you this. Or maybe you get done a service call and you found out the problem and there's a couple solutions. I'm going to present to the homeowner. Let me present, you watch me, right? So you interact,
Nice.
you coach, you kind of take different responsibilities. You're more involved in the call, right? That's more the coach in the moment. The third ride along is I'm going to run the call and you're going to observe me.
That's a cool one.
All right. So those are the three types that you can do. Now, I always believe the first call should be, I'm the student, I'm going to observe. And you're just going to do your thing and I'm just going to watch. Then after that call, depending on how much time you have between the next call and what you got going on and how that call went, now you can debrief. Now it's stop at Starbucks, get some coffee. Let's talk about that call. Now, depending on how that call went or how they do, it may be, all right, let me run the next call. Now, you're going to do the maintenance, right? But I'm going to do all the interaction with the homeowner. I'm going to do all of that. I'm going to interact with the dispatch, and you're just going to observe me, okay? And then we'll go do the maintenance or a service call or a sales call together, but I'll lead with all of the main stuff on the call. And then the last one is like, okay, dude, you like just watch. And while you're doing that is they need to see how the call should be ran, right? They need to see it from start to finish.
Right.
So those are the three main types of ride-alongs that I do. I might do any one of them on every call. I might do all three of them. I might do two of them. It depends on the individual and where they are in their career, on their journey with us, how long they've been here, what level they're at. You know, if I'm going out with a maintenance tech who's starting to run service calls and we run a service call, it's going to be totally different than if I'm going out with an experienced service tech who's been running service calls for a number of years.
Right.
Right.
Totally different calls. I got to ask you something though. When it comes to the ride-alongs, like what are the clients' reactions to you guys, multiple people coming to their house? I know sometimes people kind of be taken back by it, not understand it. Like, how do you explain to a customer about the ride-along?
Yeah, so an ideal situation, you know, you want to kind of look like they look. Meaning, if I could put on a technician uniform, that's the ideal situation. So I'm a tech with a tech. I don't fit in the uniforms like I used to, but that would be ideal. If you're showing up like this with a polo and a logo, you introduce them, the individual. You have I'm observing, I'll have them introduce me. Right, and I don't introduce in a lie to the customer. Don't say, "Oh, they're checking the company out. They're just observing to see if they want to work for us." Like, just say, "Hey, this is my manager. He's just here to ride along with me. This is one of my evaluations." Right?
Keep it simple.
Yeah, just
You don't really get pushback.
be straight up. No. You know, people. Be upfront. It's like I asked that to the guys about the software that records calls, because they have to go in and they say, "Hey, listen, you know this call is being recorded. Can I record this call for quality and training purposes?" And I said, "Do you get pushback?" He's like, "No." He says, "We don't." He says the biggest challenge was asking the question, but now we ask it. I've asked it so many times. It's just part of the call.
Right.
And he said, I don't get any pushback. And he said, and I believe it's because people are used to hearing that, right? Everything's being recorded.
Right.
So
We call into a place you're recorded.
yeah. So, but at first, a lot of times our hang up is ourself, right? So, and I think, listen, if I'm a customer and somebody comes to the house and I have a technician and they say, "Hey, listen, this is Patrick. He's my boss." Or he's one of the managers and he's just observing to see how I do today. Like, fantastic. What I don't want them to do is say, this is the owner
Right.
or this is the CEO, because I don't want there to be that, like, oh, wow, Well, let me ask you a question. How can I get this? Can I do this? I want it to be as natural as possible for the tech and the homeowner.
Right. You got to focus.
Now, there may be a time to say that, but it would be me that says that. Like I was out at an install the other day, and I was there in the morning, and I introduced myself, and I talked to the homeowner, and he didn't know who I was. He just knew I was in management, right? I was checking on the job. Later that day, I went back, and we were talking, and somehow something was said, and I said, well, I'm one of the owners, oh, okay, yeah, fantastic, But it was the right introduction.
Right.
You don't want to be out there like, I'm not saying hide it, but you want it to just be like, hey, I'm out observed, because people will be like, wait a minute, why is the CEO out doing observations, right? Now, some people will be like, wow, that's really cool. That's awesome. Right. But, just be straight up. Like, don't say like this guy is, just trying to see if he wants to get into trades.
Right.
Oh, yeah, okay. Right, sure he is. All right. But no, you don't really get pushback. I mean, what is somebody going to say? Like, I don't want you to ensure quality. Yeah. Right? Yeah. But the ride-alongs can have such an impact. Yes, very much for the company and the homeowner. But look, your responsibility is to train and develop the technicians and the salespeople. And when you get in the field, when you get in that world, you learn things about your company that you wouldn't otherwise know. And they're not always good things, but they're correctable things.
Right.
And so if you can get out there and be a part of that, man, what an impact you can have to affect change and improve your company, the customer experience. And that is one of the most important things. What is the customer experience?
Right. Right.
We are in this economy where it's about experience, right? Yes, you want competence. Yes, you want all of that to happen. But look, you can call out 5 different companies. All 5 can identify the problem and fix the problem. Which company is going to be the one that leaves an impression that you talk about? The one that created a positive, memorable experience, right? And it's in the little things. And sometimes people go about their day, especially when it's hot, especially when it's busy or cold, but you're busy and you're running and everything like that. And what happens is they kind of forget about the experience part, and through no fault of their own. Sometimes it's just got to be that reminder of what it's about and the different impact that the little things can have. But essentially, you've got to basically be in the trump. Yeah. You've got to be there. You've got to be in that environment, in that world. And if you're not doing it, you're missing out. If you think that software can do it all and tell you everything that's going on, you're missing out. Because you're going to see, so if I go out, I was out at a job the other day, and this one I didn't ride along because it was an install. So I showed up, and I'm watching the individual that's doing the brazing. And I'm like, okay, this individual, while he's getting it done, he's not getting it done to the standard that I want.
Right.
Right. So I could coach in the moment. I could explain. There was a lot of things being done correctly, but I could coach in a moment. There was another call I went out to, and I asked questions like I didn't know, because I wanted to see what the answer would be and make sure that not just did the technician know the right thing to do, did they understand the science, the theory, or not just the theory, but the science behind it. You understand the why, because it's really important. I don't want somebody out there that's just doing something because they were shown how to do it. Right. It's that story, that famous story. I'm sure everybody listening has heard it, but it's worth repeating. And it's the story of the woman who would get the roast for the holidays, and every year she'd cut the end off. The best part of the roast, she'd cut it off, and she'd put it in the oven and she'd cook it. And one day, somebody said, I gotta ask you a question. Why do you cut the best part of the roast off? Well, that's what my mother always did. Said, okay. So one day she asked her mom, let me ask you a question. Growing up, you always cook the roast. I cook it. You cut the end off. Why do you cut the end off? Because it's the only way the roast would fit in the pan to fit in the oven.
Oh, wow.
Right? But they were doing something that they observed,
Yeah.
and they were probably taught, but they didn't understand the why. Right. So then they carry that forward. So when I'm out there, I ask questions because I want to know, do they know the answer? I assume they know the answer, but do they know the why behind it? We were doing it the other day on pulling a vacuum on a system. Why do you pull a vacuum? All right. And they knew the why. But I said, what do you pull the vacuum down to? And they gave me the classical answer. And I said, okay, yeah, that's the minimum you pull it down to.
Right.
But that has somehow in our industry become the, whoa, if you hit that number, you're golden.
It's gonna keep falling.
And I'm like, no. This is, you want to pull it down to here. You don't want to do less than this, but you want to pull a vacuum to here. And then you want to do a standing vacuum test. Just because you pull a vacuum doesn't mean you don't do a standing vacuum test. So it's having those questions. It's being in the moment. It's coaching in the moment. You learn about your team, your company, and you learn about yourself. And you become a better coach by doing it.
Right.
So ride-alongs, and not only that, it's kind of fun. Ride-alongs are critical. They're probably the number one thing business owners and managers know they need to do and don't do. And the technology, here's a perfect example that ties into episode 30. Technology is coming in and it's trying to take over that role of doing ride-alongs, and it's going to succeed because we don't do them to begin with. And now we think technology can do it. You're making yourself useless. Imagine if you're a manager and you start doing ride-alongs and you're using this technology, or this technology is something your owner or your senior manager, or whoever is considering, and you start going out and doing ride-alongs, and you're coming back and saying, hey, boss, this is what I observed today, and this is what we worked on, this is what I coached on, this is what I was able to do, this is what I observed. Those listening, I'm pointing to my eyes. This is what I observed, because right now the AI technology can't observe. It can only hear. So, and it can't coach. It can't give feedback in the moment. So the two need to be used together. Scott, this is how the technology is used together. This is how you take AI, pull it over here, and you take human element, and you wonder twin powers activate. Form as a superhuman, right? AI, human. Activate.
Working together.
But what happens is human goes over here and does stupid shit, and then AI comes in and boom, takes over, and then human is like, I don't have a job. I used to be a manager, but now AI is doing everything for me. Yeah, because you did not join together and activate as the Wonder Twins. So listen, if you're not doing ride-alongs, give me a reason you're not doing a ride-along. I guarantee you, your reason is bullshit. And it starts with a capital L, lazy. Do ride-alongs. And until next time, thank you very much. Even the lazy ones. Thanks for listening. I hope you got something out of this. Thanks for the support. Until next time, be great.